It's disrespectful. We are worthy of crowded arenas. Those were the words of Phoenix Mercury star DeWanna Bonner, and on the surface, it looked like a veteran player simply lashing out in frustration over a few empty seats at the WNBA Finals. The internet ran with that story, framing it as a league in crisis, abandoned by its fans the second Caitlin Clark wasn't on the court. But what if that was a lie? What if that entire outburst wasn't about the fans at all? Today, we're going to connect the dots and show you that Bonner's public meltdown was something far more personal and far more calculated. This wasn't a random complaint. It was a targeted message, fueled by a humiliating mid-season exit from the Indiana Fever that left one of the league's most decorated veterans feeling betrayed and cast aside for the Caitlin Clark show. This is the story of how a private grudge session was disguised as a public protest. We are a community of narrative analysts here, and we live for the story behind the story. So if you believe, like we do, that the truth is always in the details, do me a favor and smash that like button right now. It's a small click for you, but it's a massive signal for us that we are on the right track. All right, let's get into it. To understand the explosion, you first have to understand the crime scene. The 2025 WNBA Finals between the Las Vegas Aces and the Phoenix Mercury should have been a celebration. You had the back-to-back champion Aces, a dynasty led by four-time MVP A'ja Wilson, going up against a resilient Mercury team led by the legendary DeWanna Bonner. This was the pinnacle of the sport. But that's not the story the internet wanted to tell. Within hours of Game 1 tipping off on October 3rd, a different narrative went viral. Social media was flooded with images of empty seats and screenshots of ticket-selling websites showing prices as low as $35. Content creators and fan accounts immediately declared the event a catastrophic failure. The words "ghost town" and "embarrassing" were everywhere, creating a powerful perception that nobody cared about the WNBA's championship if Caitlin Clark wasn't playing in it. For the players on the court, who had battled through an entire season to reach this moment, that narrative had to feel like a slap in the face. A'ja Wilson, the undisputed face of the league, was reportedly seen muttering to herself in disbelief during warm-ups. This is the finals. But while Wilson's frustration was quiet and internal, DeWanna Bonner's was about to become very, very public. Let's slow down the tape and deconstruct the meltdown itself, because this is where a narrative analyst has to filter out the noise. After Game 1, a tough 89-86 loss for her Mercury, Bonner stepped to the podium, and her frustration was visible. The competitor content you saw correctly identified her anger, but they completely missed the target of that anger. First, she dropped this line: "You work your entire career for moments like this, and you just hope people care enough to show up." On the surface, that sounds like a plea to the fans. But listen to the language. You just hope people care enough. It's passive. It's a statement of resignation. It frames the players as victims of an indifferent public. It's a perfect soundbite to fuel the WNBA is failing narrative that was already catching fire online. But then she escalated. She was far more direct and unapologetic in another quote that went viral. She declared, "It's disrespectful. We are worthy of crowded arenas. We are worthy of experiencing such energy." Now the language shifts. It's no longer passive hope. It's an active demand. The word disrespectful is a powerful accusation. But who exactly was being disrespectful? The fans who didn't buy tickets? The league for its marketing? Or was it something else entirely? This is the critical question the other channels never bothered to ask. They saw the anger and immediately aimed it at the empty seats because it fit their preconceived story. But we know that in high-stakes situations, every word is chosen for a reason. Bonner, a 15-year veteran and one of the smartest players in the game, didn't just have a random outburst. She was airing a grievance. The WNBA Finals just happened to be the biggest microphone she could find. To find the real target of that disrespect, we have to rewind the clock just a few months, to a move that shocked the league and sent Bonner's season into a tailspin. This is the part of the story the mainstream sports media completely ignored. The motive for Bonner's meltdown wasn't in Las Vegas, it was in Indiana. Let's go back to mid-season 2025. After spending a decade and winning 2 championships with Phoenix, Bonner had a stint with the Connecticut Sun before signing with the Indiana Fever. This was supposed to be a veteran presence to help guide the most hyped rookie in the history of the sport, Caitlin Clark. It was a fever dream on paper, but the dream quickly turned into a nightmare. After just 9 games with the team, DeWanna Bonner was unceremoniously waived. The official reasons given were vague, personal reasons, and a poor fit with the team. Let's be clear about what that means in the world of professional sports. A poor fit is code for a clash of personalities, a clash of play styles, or a veteran who isn't willing to fall in line with a new direction. And the new direction in Indiana was clear. It was the Caitlin Clark Show, 24/7. For a player like Bonner, the second oldest active player in the league, third all-time in WNBA scoring, and a multiple-time champion, to be cut loose in such an abrupt and public fashion had to be a deep personal humiliation. She was an icon of the league's old guard, and she was just told she was expendable in the new era. Now, let's connect the dots back to that press conference, when a furious DeWanna Bonner stood at that podium and talked about disrespect. Was she really talking about a few hundred fans who didn't show up? Or was she talking about the sting of being cast aside by the Fever? When she said, "We are worthy of crowded arenas," was she just talking about that one night? Or was she declaring that she was still worthy, that her brand of basketball still mattered, even without the circus of the Caitlin Clark effect surrounding her? The WNBA Finals was her ultimate stage for vindication. She had made it back to the championship with her original team, the Phoenix Mercury, while the Indiana Fever were sitting at home. This was her chance to prove that the league's success wasn't dependent on one rookie, and that her poor fit in Indiana was their mistake, not her failure. Her comments weren't a plea, they were a counterattack. But in a tragic twist of irony, her attempt to reclaim the narrative would backfire spectacularly. Here's the great irony of DeWanna Bonner's strategy. She stepped onto that stage intending to defend the honor of the league's veterans, to prove their worth. But in the hyper-accelerated, context-optional world of social media, her words were clipped, twisted, and immediately used to prove the exact opposite point. Her frustration became the ultimate weapon for the very narrative she was fighting against. The idea that the WNBA collapses without Caitlin Clark. Her quotes were immediately plugged into a content machine that was already running at full speed, one that had a simple, pre-written script. Clark is the only thing that matters. Don't just take my word for it. Listen to how the narrative she fueled was being sold to millions of viewers online. Did you catch that? Her genuine, personal frustration over her own career trajectory and her place in the league was completely erased. Instead, it was flattened into simple proof that nobody cared about the finals. The online commentators took her anger and used it to validate their polls, claiming 96% of fans wouldn't watch. They weaponized her pain to reinforce the idea that ticket prices were in the gutter because the product, without Clark, was worthless. She handed them the soundbite they needed, and they ran with it. But for all the narrative analysts watching, this is the moment where we have to filter out the noise and look at the hard data. Because while the internet was busy writing the WNBA's obituary, a completely different reality was unfolding. The viral story of the empty seats wasn't just an exaggeration, it was a carefully constructed lie. Let's look at the facts. Fact number 1, television viewership wasn't just okay. It was historic. Game 1 of the 2025 WNBA Finals averaged 1.9 million viewers on ESPN, a staggering 62% increase over the previous year's finals. Millions of people were watching. Fact number 2, the league wasn't suffering from an attendance problem. It was celebrating an all-time record. The 2025 season as a whole saw over 2.5 million fans attend games, the highest total attendance in the history of the WNBA. The league broke a record that had stood since 2002, and they did it with fewer teams and fewer games. So we are now left with a massive contradiction. The finals are posting record-shattering viewership. The league just had its best-attended season ever. And yet the dominant story online, the one DeWanna Bonner's comments poured gasoline on, was that the league was a ghost town. This wasn't a natural fan reaction. This was a manufactured narrative. So when we filter out all the noise and connect the dots, the picture becomes painfully clear. DeWanna Bonner's fiery outburst at the WNBA Finals was not about a few empty seats. It was a public therapy session for a private humiliation. It was the deeply personal and calculated culmination of a season that saw her, a WNBA icon, cast aside by the Indiana Fever in favor of the new Caitlin Clark era. She used the biggest stage she could find to scream, "I am still worthy." But in doing so, she inadvertently handed a weapon to those pushing the narrative that the league is nothing without its new superstar. The real disrespect she felt wasn't from the fans in the stands, but from an organization that made her feel like a ghost of the past, and her tragic, miscalculated revenge only served to amplify the power of the future she was trying to defy. So what's your take on all this? Was DeWanna Bonner's public outburst a justified act of defiance from a legend who was treated unfairly by the Fever? Or was it an unprofessional move that ended up hurting the very league she was trying to champion? Let us know your verdict in the comments below. We are tracking the fallout from this finals and the simmering tensions across the league every single day. Make sure you are subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss the next chapter in this story. And finally, if you know a fan who only heard the surface-level drama about the empty seats, share this video with them. Every narrative analyst deserves to be in on the real conversation,